content production and ongoing management. So, obviously we're going to increase our content production, so you got to make sure that your internal processes and systems and your IT group is ready for you. And then evolve reporting and business intelligence. So, what's going to be interesting in the case of Compete is Compete doesn't look at the life cycles quite the way we are. So, I've got an e-commerce report and I've got a support report, or, e-commerce and e-care. So I'll be able to kind of dissect there. But it'll be interesting if we are successful in how we could actually evolve looking at our business intelligence a little broader around life cycle. So will it work? I hope so. Or I'm in trouble. I would say it's worked to a certain degree. We launched HD2, which was a phenomenal product launch for us, and we launched it with this model. We actually briefed in with Microsoft and HTC in a lifecycle model. We actually kind of spelled out how the customer experience would fall through the life cycles. And we actually were very upfront on the content that we needed, and we were very collaborative. So if you go to our product hub for HD2, I would estimate that over half of the content is actually provided by HTC. It's kind of crazy that they go do product videos and I do product videos, and I'm doing product videos with the money they give me, so that's kind of crazy. So we actually sat down and developed a unified campaign together, and I think we've all been very pleased with the results. And you got to allocate the resource and the assets. And so that's kind of where we're at right now is it does require a bit of a different approach. And so I'm repurposing my team to be experienced design managers for them to look across these. And we'll do campaign, and then we'll do 3 or 4 key significant interactions within each lifecycle stage. So it could be a customer that's switching from one of the other carriers over to us. So how do I actually optimize that experience? Could be an existing customer who wants to upgrade or add an additional line of service. So we'll pick some key transactions there. So we're just getting started on this now. We're starting to put concept into production. So I think you probably, well, for my competitors, I think I've only got Sprint left in the room now. You'll know if we succeed because you'll see the metrics that you're up against if we succeed. So with that, that's
excellent. Thank you very much. So I've always loved the concept of experience design. I think it's absolutely necessary. It's kind of a little esoteric, a little elusive, hard to put your finger on. Where, as somebody who's rolling that out in the organization, what resources do you turn to? Who do you learn from?
I learn a lot from, I turn to my agencies. So I've got 3 significant digital agencies, partners. And we actually have a strategic person from each agency. And so there is a very small, tight group of digital strategy folks who have been working on this from a multi-agency standpoint for, quite honestly, about a year. In regards to this whole concept, we've been socializing it for quite some time. We've been slowly evolving to it and influencing it more organically. And so I think that that's kind of where we started. We started, with my own team, starting to look at the campaigns, because it was easier for everyone to get their head around the campaign. And honestly, where we learned quite a bit is our partners. Because it was interesting to me, I really didn't think coming in that those other big brands would jump on this as quick as they did. But they did, and so we learned quite a bit from that first one that we can apply to the next one, which we are. And we learn a lot from business intelligence. And we learn a lot from just consumer behavior. I mean, the reality is our traffic is going down on our site. It's going down on our site because they don't need to come to my site anymore to find out information about my products and services. So I have to find ways in which I can go to them, or I can get them the information and when and where they need it. Or if they're off-site and they start finding from awareness and they start considering me, I make it easy for them to get to me.
Thanks. Questions? I've got another one. So your spheres of influence, right? You had kind of your employees in the middle, and then you had, I think it was public at the outermost ring. So it's kind of, I don't know if it's because you can't it's harder to influence people out there, that you spend more money against them, but my guess is that you spend the most money where you have the least influence. Is that by design, or is that what you're trying to fix?
Well, I think that's kind of the nature right now, right? Because awareness media is generally in that outer ring in the public area. So, I think one of that outer ring in that public, one of the big ones for me is really long tail optimization within social. So, how do we identify some key bloggers and key influencers beyond the big ones that your PR group's going to manage for you? How do we start building relationships with them? How do we really propagate word of mouth? So I think that really kind of comes in heavy on that outer ring. And if I'm successful in that outer ring of doing that, they will come into either the partner site or one of our sites or our social site. They may come in on our social site first.
So one of the things that came up with the media sellers panel was something that would be very helpful for advertisers to take them to attend in digital effectiveness would be if media sellers, the properties themselves, could get involved in a meeting with the client directly. So if I'm thinking about experience design, you would want to have the experience go all the way into integrated content on a media property. Is that something that you're doing, that you're willing to do, that your agencies will allow?
Yeah, so I think that, I'd answer it in that we're looking at aggregating all types of content at that topic level. So syndicated content is a big one for us. And so through our media partners, we've had a lot of our direct syndicated content partners coming directly to us and meeting with us on this topic. So actually our media team has been a broker. And they continue brokering because I think in the end there's a win-win. The syndicated content provider gets exposure. We have a heavily trafficked site, so they get exposure, and we get exposure. And so we're looking at how do we, and it also helps round out. It's not just us talking about our products and services. We can bring some meaningful content in, respected content in from those content providers. So, we are seeing, I think that our media team is evolving to being much more of a broker versus the media agency off just kind of interacting, and then the media agency is the only one that really comes back in. So they're starting to actually broker and bring some of those key partners directly in.
Good. Thanks. Excellent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great.